The darkened alley reeked of danger and desperation. Alex adjusted the leather jacket over his broad shoulders, his hand casually brushing the weapon concealed at his hip. The drug worked like a charm today, suppressing the familiar Omega sense. His deep voice carried over to the burly man standing by the door. "I'm looking for work," Alex said, his tone laced with the authority of an alpha. The guard eyed him suspiciously but finally grunted, motioning for him to follow. Inside, the Black Serpent's lair was as sinister as Alex had imagined. Shadows flickered on cracked walls under dim fluorescent lights. Men laughed loudly over drinks, their conversations laced with malice. Alex reminded himself of his mission: infiltrate, observe, report. Yet the gnawing fear of his deception lingered. One misstep, and his alpha act would shatter, revealing the Omega beneath. At the room's center sat Dean, leader of the Black Serpents, his storm-gray eyes scanning the room with deadly intent. His suffocating aura exuded raw power and destruction. Alex suppressed a shiver as Dean's gaze briefly flicked in his direction. "Focus, Alex. Just a rookie looking for work. No sudden moves." Weeks turned into months, and Alex's cover remained intact. He played his role as the clumsy newcomer, earning jeers and suspicion but little else. Beneath the surface, he pieced together the Serpent's web of operations, his FBI handlers waiting eagerly for the final puzzle pieces. But on a cold, rain-slicked night, the fragile illusion shattered. A failed raid on a rival shipment led to suspicion. When Alex returned to the compound, Dean awaited him in the dimly lit study. His voice was a velvet trap. "You're a peculiar one, Alex. Too sharp for the fool you pretend to be." Alex forced a laugh, shrugging casually. "Guess I got lucky, boss." Dean's eyes narrowed. Then, with a swiftness that caught Alex off guard, Dean stepped closer. Panic surged through Alex as Dean grabbed him by the collar, pulling him close. "You're not what you seem," Dean growled, his alpha instincts flaring dangerously. The next thing Alex knew, he was dragged into a dim, cold cell deep in the Serpent's compound. The discovery came like a lightning strike. Dean sat at his desk, his storm-gray eyes locked on the thin folder spread before him. It contained everything: real name, identity, rank, laid bare by the efforts of his most trusted men. Alex wasn't just a nobody looking for work in the Black Serpents. He was an undercover FBI agent, a hunter in disguise. "Agent Alexander Harlow," Dean murmured, rolling the name over his tongue as if tasting its bitterness. He leaned back in his chair, the weight of betrayal settling in his chest. An alpha in disguise, sent by the authorities to dismantle his empire from within. One of his men stepped forward, clearing his throat. "What should we do, boss? Send him back in pieces? Use him as leverage?" Dean's lips curled into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "No, we're not amateurs. If the FBI thinks we've killed their agent, they'll move on to another target. But we'll do it on our terms." The plan formed with cold precision in Dean's mind. Alex Harlow would die in a fabricated explosion, the kind that left bodies unrecognizable, and Alex's DNA will be placed. The FBI would mourn, recalibrate, and most importantly, stop sniffing around the Serpent's operations. In reality, Alex would be his prisoner, alive but hidden from the world. Dean had no use for corpses when information was still on the table. Dean entered the dim cell, tension heavy in the air. Alex sat against the wall, wrists chained, bruises marking his face. Sweat dampened his red hair, but his brown eyes stayed locked on Dean, unwavering. "Comfortable, Agent Harlow?" Dean asked, his voice calm. Alex didn't flinch. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. "I'm just a rookie trying to survive in your madhouse." Dean's laugh was low and humorless. He crouched down, leveling his piercing gaze with Alex's. "Rookie, huh? That's cute. I got your file, FBI, impressive resume." Alex's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. His silence was a shield, but Dean could see the faint crack in his composure. "You really thought you could walk into my operation, play dumb, and walk out with my secrets?" Dean continued, his voice hardening. "You're lucky you're still breathing." "What do you want me to say?" Alex snapped, his tone sharp now. "That I'm FBI? That I was going to bring you down? Fine, congratulations, Dean, you caught the mole." Dean smirked, his expression unreadable. "Good, you can admit it. Saves me the trouble of beating it out of you." He stood, brushing imaginary dust from his hands. But here's the thing, Agent Harlow. As of tonight, you're officially dead. Alex's eyes narrowed. What the hell does that mean? Dean stepped closer, his imposing figure casting a shadow over Alex. It means your little friends at the Bureau are going to believe you died in an explosion. No body to recover, no leads to follow, just another casualty in their war against the big bad Mafia. And you're going to rot here, where no one will ever find you. You bastard, Alex hissed, yanking at his chains. They'll figure it out. They'll come for me. Dean leaned in, his tone low and icy. They won't, because dead men don't talk. Dean stood, pulling a pair of brass knuckles from his pocket and sliding them onto his hand. But before we let the world think you're dead, we need to make sure you understand exactly who you're dealing with. The first blow was quick, precise, a punch to Alex's ribs that knocked the breath from his lungs. He doubled over, gasping, but Dean didn't stop. Another strike followed, this time to his jaw, snapping his head back against the wall. The metallic taste of blood filled Alex's mouth as he spat onto the floor. You're good at hiding pain, Dean remarked, his tone almost curious. He knelt in front of Alex, gripping his chin and forcing him to look up. But how long can you keep it up? Alex glared at him, his voice hoarse but steady. Do your worst. Dean's smirk turned cruel. Oh, I will. For the next hour, Dean mixed sharp blows with cruel taunts. He pressed a knife to Alex's skin, leaving shallow cuts, and dumped ice water over him, the cold jolting his aching body. Alex clenched his jaw, refusing to scream no matter how much he faltered. Still not talking? Dean asked, wiping blood off his knuckles with a cloth. He leaned against the wall, watching Alex's trembling form with a detached expression. You've got more stamina than I expected. Alex raised his head, his brown eyes blazing with defiance. Is that all you've got? Dean's expression darkened, and he reached for the electric prod resting against the wall. Alex tensed as the device buzzed to life, its sharp crackling filling the air. Dean approached slowly, crouching down beside him. You really don't know when to quit, do you? Dean murmured, pressing the prod against Alex's side. A jolt of electricity coursed through his body, drawing a sharp gasp from his lips. Maybe you'll learn some manners by the time I'm done. It wasn't the torture that broke Alex. It was his body. Without the scent-blocking drugs, his omega nature surfaced. At first, it was faint, a hint of sweetness mixed with blood and sweat. But over time, it grew stronger, impossible to ignore. Dean noticed the change first. He had just delivered another strike when he paused, his nostrils flaring slightly. His storm-gray eyes narrowed, confusion flickering across his face. What the hell? He muttered, stepping back. He tilted his head, inhaling deeply. The air in the cell was thick with Alex's scent, sweet, intoxicating, and unmistakably omega. You're an omega, Dean muttered, his voice low, almost disbelieving. Alex flinched, his body trembling as another wave of heat crashed over him. He struggled to sit upright, the chains rattling against the stone wall, but his strength gave out. A soft whimper escaped his lips before he could swallow it down. Don't, Alex managed, his voice raw and shaky. Yet even in his vulnerability, his eyes burned with defiance. Dean ignored the warning, stepping closer, his nostrils flaring. You've been hiding this, he said, his voice edged with accusation. Alex's jaw clenched, his chest heaving. Why do you care? Just finish it. Kill me and be done with it. Dean crouched beside him, close enough that Alex could feel the Alpha's oppressive presence. Kill you? He echoed, his tone cold but curious. I won't hurt Omegas. He leaned in, his voice dropping. And don't act like I'd let them tear you apart either. Alex froze as soothing pheromones washed over him, calming and infuriating all at once. Get away, he hissed, twisting weakly against his restraints. Dean's gaze softened just barely, as if something about Alex's trembling form gave him pause. Rest, he said, his voice calm now. I won't let them near you. Alex's laugh was bitter. You expect me to believe that? You're a monster. Dean didn't flinch. Instead, he reached for the chains, unlocking them with a flick of his wrist. The heavy iron fell to the floor with a loud clang. What? Alex tried to push himself back, but his limbs betrayed him, shaking too hard to hold his weight. Before Alex could protest further, Dean slid an arm under his knees and another behind his back, lifting him effortlessly. Alex tensed, his voice sharp despite the tremble in it. Put me down. Alex's head lolled against Dean's shoulder, his exhaustion overriding his instinct to fight. The warmth of Dean's body, the alpha's scent, it was amazingly comforting. "Why are you doing this?" he mumbled, his voice faint. Dean didn't answer until they reached his room. "Because I want to." He pushed the door open and carried Alex to the bed, placing him down gently. Alex turned away, curling under the covers. Despite himself, Dean's calming scent filled the room, and his breathing slowed until he drifted into uneasy sleep. Dean stood by the door, watching with a mix of frustration and something softer, before leaving silently. Next morning, soft light filtered through the curtains as Alex stirred, his body aching. It took a moment to realize he was in Dean's room. Memories of being unchained and soothed by the man who had hurt him flooded back. He sat up quickly, his muscles trembling. Shame and anger twisted inside as he took in the clean, warm room, so different from the cold cell he had endured. The door creaked open, and Alex froze as Dean entered, a tray of food in hand. Their eyes met briefly before Dean set the tray on the bedside table. "You're awake," Dean said. "Why do you care?" Alex snapped, his voice hoarse. "I didn't ask for this." Dean's gaze flickered to Alex, a mix of irritation and something unreadable in his expression. "You needed help. I gave it." Alex let out a bitter laugh. "Help? Is that what you call this? Locking me in a cell, torturing me, and then playing the hero when my body gives out?" Dean crossed his arms, his voice edged with warning. "You would have died, Alex." "Good," Alex shot back, his brown eyes blazing. "Better than being your prisoner." Dean's jaw tightened. He leaned against the wall, his piercing gaze never leaving Alex. "You're stubborn, I'll give you that." Alex glared at him, his hands gripping the blanket tightly. "What do you want from me, Dean? You've already taken everything. My freedom, my mission, my dignity. Isn't that enough?" Dean's eyes narrowed. "You think I enjoy this? Keeping you here, cleaning up your mess?" "My mess?" Alex barked, his voice rising despite his exhaustion. "You're the one running a drug cartel, smuggling weapons and killing people without blinking. My only crime was trying to stop you." Dean stepped closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Your only crime was lying to me. Do you know what happens to people who lie to me, Alex?" "I can guess," Alex bit out, his tone sharp but trembling. Dean paused, his storm-gray eyes scanning Alex's face. Something in Alex's vulnerable expression made him hesitate. He sighed, stepping back. "Eat," he said, nodding to the tray. "You need your strength." Alex shoved the tray away, the clatter of dishes breaking the tense silence. "I don't want your food." Dean's patience frayed. "Stop being so damn difficult." "Then let me go," Alex snapped. "You know I won't," Dean said, his tone softening slightly. "You're dead to the outside world, Alex. Where would you even go?" The word struck Alex like a blow. He clenched his fists, his chest heaving with suppressed emotion. "I don't care. Anywhere but here." Dean sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. "Eat," he repeated, his voice quieter now. "Or don't, but you'll regret it later." He turned and left. Alex stared at the untouched food, hunger and anger churning inside him. He wanted to scream or throw it, but instead he slumped against the headboard, his mind racing. By evening, Dean returned with a doctor. Alex tensed as they entered, his instincts screaming to resist. "Sit up," the doctor ordered, setting a black bag on the nightstand. "I'm fine," Alex muttered, glaring at Dean. "I don't need a checkup." Dean's expression darkened. "You'll let him examine you, or I'll make you." "Of course you will," Alex said bitterly. But he sat up, his movements stiff and reluctant. The doctor worked quickly, checking Alex's pulse, temperature, and other vitals. His frown deepened as he inspected the wounds on Alex's body and marks on his skin. "Your omega is dangerously undernourished," the doctor said to Dean, his tone professional but firm. "And those drugs he's been taking, scent blockers, hormone suppressants, they're wreaking havoc on his system." Alex scowled. "I don't need a lecture." The doctor ignored him, addressing Dean again. "If he doesn't start the detox process soon, it'll do permanent damage." Dean nodded, his jaw tight. "What does he need?" The doctor pulled a vial and a bottle of pills from his bag. "These will flush the toxins from his system and stabilize his omega traits. He won't feel like himself for a while, but it's necessary." Alex's stomach twisted. He eyed the pills like they were poison. "I'm not taking those." Dean's eyes snapped to Alex, his expression hardening. You don't have a choice. Alex's laugh was sharp, humorless. What are you going to do? Force feed me? Dean stepped closer, his imposing figure casting a shadow over Alex. If I have to. The tension crackled between them. Alex knocked the pills from the nightstand, sending them scattering to the floor. Go to hell. Dean's patience broke. He grabbed the bottle, poured pills into his hand, and swallowed them. Before Alex could react, Dean seized his chin and kissed him forcefully, transferring the pills. Alex struggled weakly, his fists hitting Dean's chest, but it was useless. When Dean finally pulled back, Alex coughed, glaring daggers at him. You bastard. Dean wiped his mouth, his expression calm but firm. You'll take the next dose willingly, or we'll do this again. The doctor, unbothered by the tension, packed his bag and stood. I'll check on him in a few days. Make sure he rests. Dean nodded, his gaze never leaving Alex. When the door shut, Alex turned his face away, his voice trembling with suppressed rage. You think this changes anything? I still hate you. Dean's voice was low, almost soft. Hate me all you want. That night, Alex lay awake, staring at the ceiling. His body felt strange, his Omega instincts pushing against his defenses. Memories of Dean, his touch, his scent, his steady presence, gnawed at him in ways he didn't want to admit. No matter Dean's intentions, Alex refused to let himself rely on anyone. Over the next month, Alex healed quickly, but his Omega nature grew stronger, unsettling him. Dean cared for him, always ensuring his safety and comfort. Yet with each kind act, Alex felt himself losing control. He hated how much he needed someone. Then, Alex's second heat arrived, stronger than the first. The need it brought was overwhelming. His body ached, and his mind was clouded with desire. He fought to keep himself together, but it was too much. Dean was right there, watching over him. The air between them felt thick with tension as Alex's body reacted to the heat. He wanted Dean, needed him, but his pride told him to hold back. Alpha, I can't. I need you. Alex breathed, his voice shaking. Dean took a deep breath, his heart racing. Alex, I can't do this. You're not yourself right now. But Alex's instincts were stronger. He reached out for Dean, desperate, and in that moment, Dean couldn't fight it anymore. He was with Alex in an instant, their bodies entwining as the desire between them finally took over. In the rush of passion, Dean marked Alex, his teeth grazing the skin of Alex's neck. For a moment, everything went still. The next morning, Alex woke up, his hand instinctively going to the mark on his neck. A feeling of horror and confusion washed over him. He was bound to Dean now in a way he couldn't escape. He felt trapped, as if his very being had changed forever. Dean watched him, his face softening with a mix of concern and regret. You're free to hate me, Dean said, but I won't let you go. Alex turned away. He didn't know what to feel, but he knew one thing. He couldn't take it back. Neither could Dean. Weeks passed, and Alex's resistance weakened. The tension with Dean grew, but so did a quiet understanding. Despite his lingering anger, Alex couldn't ignore the pull he felt toward the Alpha. Everything changed from the day of the rival attack on the Serpent's compound. The night of the attack was chaos. Explosions shook the compound, and gunfire echoed through the halls. Alex gripped a knife tightly, trying to stay out of the fight. But his instincts as a former FBI agent kicked in. As he turned a corner, he froze. Dean was fighting off 3 attackers, his movements sharp but slowing. Blood dripped from a cut on his temple, and his arm hung awkwardly. Then Alex saw it, a gun aimed at Dean's back. No! Alex yelled, running forward just as the shot rang out. Pain tore through his side, but he didn't stop. He slammed into the attacker, knocking him down, and drove his knife into the man. Dean spun at the sound, his gray eyes widening. What the hell are you doing? Saving your life, Alex panted, blood soaking his shirt. Dean quickly finished off the other attackers and caught Alex as he staggered. You idiot, Dean growled. Why didn't you stay out of it? Alex let out a weak laugh. I was a FBI, remember? Dean's jaw tightened as his eyes flicked to Alex's wound. You're bleeding. No kidding, Alex muttered before passing out. When Alex woke, he was in Dean's room. His side ached, but it was tightly bandaged. Dean sat by the bed, his shirt still stained with blood. He didn't look up until Alex stirred. You're awake, Dean said. Don't sound so happy, Alex rasped. Dean's eyes narrowed. Do you have any idea how stupid that was? What was I supposed to do? Let you get shot? Alex said, wincing as he sat up. Yes, Dean snapped. This isn't your fight. You could have been killed. Alex smirked. You're welcome. Dean's lips twitched, but he quickly hid it. He handed Alex a glass of water. Drink, Dean ordered. Alex hesitated, then took it. You're pretty bossy. Get used to it, Dean said with a faint smirk. Weeks later, the compound had mostly recovered, but scars from the attack lingered. Alex's side still ached, a constant reminder of the night he'd nearly bled out. One evening, Alex found himself on the rooftop, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The cool breeze ruffled his red hair, and for a moment, he let himself forget everything. The cell, the serpents, even Dean. You're quiet tonight, came a familiar voice. Alex didn't turn as Dean joined him. Just thinking, Alex said. Dean raised an eyebrow. That's dangerous for you. Alex huffed a laugh. Funny. You saved my life, he said. Alex glanced at him, surprised by the serious tone. Yeah, well, Dean's gaze was steady, his gray eyes catching the fading light. Why did you do it? Alex frowned, unsure how to answer. I don't know, he admitted. I just couldn't let you die. Dean studied him for a long moment before speaking again. We're bound now, you know. Alex blinked. What? Dean leaned forward. You saved me. You didn't have to, but you did. And whether we wanted it or not, that changes things. Alex's chest tightened. Dean, I don't know what you think, Dean interrupted, his voice calm but firm. Let me protect you. Not as my prisoner, as someone I can't lose. I want you to marry me. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Alex blinked, certain he'd misheard. You want me to what? Marry me, Dean repeated, his gaze steady. Alex let out a laugh, though it was more out of shock than amusement. You're serious? I am. Dean, this is insane, Alex said. We barely even like each other half the time. Dean's lips twitched into a small smile. I'd argue we're past barely. Alex scowled, but his heart was pounding. Why are you doing this? Dean leaned forward. Because it's the right thing to do. I marked you, Alex. You saved my life. We're bound now, and we can't undo it. Whether you admit it or not, you feel it too. Alex's breath hitched. He wanted to argue, to tell Dean he was wrong, but no words came. Deep down, he couldn't deny the pull of the bond. Instead, he looked away, avoiding Dean's gaze. This isn't how I imagined my life turning out, Alex muttered. Neither did I, Dean admitted. But here we are, and I'm not letting you go. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Alex sighed, meeting Dean's gaze. Fine, Alex said softly. But if you make me regret this, I swear I'll... You won't, Dean interrupted, a rare smile tugging at his lips. The ceremony took place in the garden, where soft petals lined the aisle, and chairs were arranged neatly under the open sky. Dean stood at the front, dressed in a sharp black suit, his gray eyes fixed on Alex as he approached. Alex hesitated for just a moment before walking forward, his heart hammering in his chest. When he reached Dean, the Alpha gave him a small, reassuring nod. You look amazing, Dean said, his voice low enough that only Alex could hear. Don't get used to it, Alex muttered, though his cheeks flushed faintly. The officiant began the ceremony, but Alex barely heard the words. His focus was entirely on Dean. On the way, the Alpha stood tall and steady, his expression softer than Alex had ever seen. When it came time for their vows, Dean spoke first. Alex, you've always been a fighter. Even when the odds were against you, you never gave up. You're stubborn, infuriating, and impossible to ignore. And I don't want to live another day without you by my side. I vow to protect you, to stand by you, and to give you the freedom to be who you are. Alex swallowed hard. He hadn't expected the words to hit so deeply. When it was his turn, Alex hesitated, his hands fidgeting slightly. Dean, I never thought I'd be here. Honestly, I never thought I'd trust you enough to even consider this. And I don't know what the future looks like, but I'm willing to figure it out, with you. Dean's lips curved into a rare, genuine smile. When the officiant pronounced them bound, Dean leaned in, his hands gently cupping Alex's face as he pressed their lips together, kissing him. You're mine now, Dean murmured, his voice warm. Alex smirked, his brown eyes glinting. And you're mine. Don't forget it.